Hi everybody, it's Kaylani and welcome back to my book corner. Today we're going to be talking about a new reading challenge I'm going to be doing throughout the year. So I saw this on Instagram a couple weeks ago where someone had like a bingo card of classics and you were supposed to mark off the ones that you've already read. This is pretty common, it goes around, and there were like a couple different versions of it. And I had not read a lot of the classics that were listed. And one of my goals for 2020 is to read more classics. So I came up with my own like personal bingo board that I am going to be reading from. This is what it looks like. And there is 24 books because my free space in the middle is right there, but I am going to have to read 10 books to get that free space. So I thought we could just talk about the books I'm going to be reading. Some of them are rereads for me, so I was going to go over that. And I do own copies of most of these now, so hopefully we will be able to read all these books in 2020. So the first book on my classics bingo is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. And this is a story about Scout and Jem who live in a small town in Alabama. They live with their father Atticus, who is a lawyer in the town, and this story takes place a little bit during the Great Depression or maybe a little bit after the Great Depression, and they're a little bit more well off than other people in their community. And then the two friends, or the two children's befriend another child named Dill, and they kind of become fascinated with another character in town, Boo Radley. And while they are fascinated with Boo Radley, their father undertakes a case to represent an African American who has been accused of rape. The story has a couple different themes. It follows good and evil, social inequality, perspective, putting others before yourself, or putting yourself in others' shoes. And then it also obviously talks about racism, and it also talks about the law and how the courtroom is where justice should be served, where maybe it isn't always served. But yep, To Kill a Mockingbird is my first spot on my bingo chart or board, so hopefully, yeah. So the second book on my bingo board is Charlotte's Web, which I feel like all know. It follows a pig named Wilbur and his friendship with a spider named Charlotte and how they interact together. The themes are obviously love and friendship. This is something I feel like it's not a reread, but I feel like I've seen the movie quite a few times as a child, so I feel like I already know the story, but I'm pretty excited to get into the book form of it. So that is, again, the second on my bingo. The third on my bingo is Gone with the Wind, which is, I'm unsure, which is like a weird one for me because I've never had a desire to read this, but I feel like it is one of those ones where like you just have to read it. So it is Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell, and it is a historical fiction romance. It follows Scarlett O'Hare, a beautiful spoiled daughter of a well-to-do Georgian plantation owner, and they must use every means at her disposal to claw her way out of the poverty she finds herself in after Sherman's march to the sea. I don't know what their story is really about. It says the themes are race, economic divide, gender ideals, love and dissolution, and romancing the past. So some of those are pretty interesting. I think romancing the past maybe. And love and disillusionment, that is something I feel like familiar with, so I am interested to read that one for sure as a romance. So The Count of Monte Cristo is in my fourth spot on my bingo board. This follows, I think it's like a revenge story about a guy who is wrongfully incarcerated, and while he is incarcerated he plots revenge against the people who put him in jail. And so he somehow, I think, finds the treasure, and then he uses this treasure to gain wealth, obviously, and then uses his power from the wealth to fulfill the punishment he has for the people who put him in jail. My themes that I have written down are the limits of human justice, relative and absolute happiness, and then love versus alienation. I really don't know what those mean, but I am interested to find out how the book shows me the meanings behind those, or how they feel like the meaning should show. But that again is my 4th spot on my bingo board. So the next spot I have on my bingo board is my 5th spot, which is Lord of the Rings, which I'm just going to read the first one, which is The Fellowship of the Ring. And I got this really pretty nicely. It's all 3 of the books put together, and it's real pretty. And so Lord of the Rings follows Frodo. I knew that. It follows Frodo, and he is traveling across the world, and he is doing something with a ring. That is really all I know. I have not seen the movies. Surprising, I know. But I am excited to read it. This is one my fiance really wants me to read as well because he's a little bit obsessed with it. So we are going to read the first one in that, and I hope it is as good as the rest of the world thinks it is. So the next book that I have on the list is Animal Farm, which I got like the classic copy of, I feel like. It's right here, by George Orwell. It is pretty tiny. I didn't realize it was this tiny. I did read this in high school, and for some reason this feels like a way longer book in high school. So I'm pretty happy that it's such a short read. This one follows farm animals and how they kind of take over the farm, and there are pigs who think they're smarter than everyone else, but they're kind of the worst, which people who think they're smarter than they are usually kind of the worst. So I am excited to read into this. Guys, I just realized that's a pig just now while we're... So I'm excited to look into that and reread it, and hopefully I like it more than I did in high school. The next one is Dracula by Bram Stoker, and I feel like we all know what Dracula is. I feel like it's a pretty well-known one. It follows a guy, and he is captured by Count Dracula, and then Count Dracula is obsessed with his fiance, I think. And I have seen the movie, never read the book. We're gonna read the book. Is this not beautiful? It is. But so I am gonna read this one. The themes for this one are threat of modern technology, female sexual expression, and Christian salvation. So we will see. Yeah, we will see. How many times can I say that in this video? We will see. So the next one is Wuthering Heights, or I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. I feel like I say it every time differently. Which I have this copy of. It is the Paper Mill Press copy. This one is by Emily Bronte, and it follows Heathcliff, and I think he's taken in by a family. Again, I've never read this one. He's taken in by a family, and the family maybe doesn't treat him as well as they could have, and then he kind of gets wealthy, and then he takes revenge upon the family. I know there's some sort of romance in there, but I'm not sure what the romance is. I just know that there's a romance. I know that this is usually pushed as a romance, but I also have heard it's kind of sad, so I'm interested to see if it is a romance or if it's sad. Or is it a sad romance? We will find out, won't we? So that again is the next book on my bingo sheet. And then the next one is Lord of the Flies. And this is actually one I really enjoyed in high school. And I found this beautiful cover. Like this, since I've read this book, this is like the best depiction of Lord of the Flies I can... Like, it gave me goosebumps, I feel like, the first time I saw it, which I know is crazy. But I really liked Lord of the Flies when I was in high school, and I thought it was a very true-to-life expression of not only humans, but children. So, like, I'm going to show you the whole book because everything about it is beautiful. So then we have this back cover, which is this nice pig. And then we have the inside, which is the island. And then we have the back flap, which is, I believe that, if I remember correctly, it's the pilot or one of the chaperones. So we are going to reread this. This is the Penguin House, isn't that it? Deluxe edition. And it's just so, like I said, I love this whole book. And then, Some of the themes of Lord of the Flies are loss of innocence, yes, civilization versus savagery, civilization building and the struggle to build civilization, inherent evil, mob mentality, and war. So I'm really excited to read this. I get to see Piggy again, which I'm just so excited about. So hopefully, I don't know, I just love it so much, guys. The next spot on my bingo sheet is the Scarlet Letter, or the Scarlet Letter. I get it confused with Easy A lot because that is what Easy A is about, isn't it? Which I got this pretty copy from Barnes & Noble. It's like the faux leather and the sprayed edges. And then the inside is really pretty. It's this like marbled red. Anyways, about the book. It is about, I can't ever remember the main character's name. Hester Prynne, and I think some sexual acts come on about her, and she has to wear the Scarlet Letter A, and that's really all I know. Like I said, my knowledge of this book is from Easy A, so I'm interested to see how much it actually has in common with the movie. And then some of the themes in this is obviously sin, the nature of evil, identity and society, female independence, which is always good, guilt, nature versus society, and empathy. So that's an interesting one I feel like to have in a book, especially a classic. I feel like classics are very unempathetic because they're much more straightforward, I feel like, than contemporary novels. So I'm interested to get into this one, and yeah. So the next spot on my classics bingo is The Secret Garden, which, guys, I have to tell you, I love every version of the movie, but I have never read the book. But I got this really pretty copy of it at Barnes & Noble. It's got the sprayed edges and it's a stunning cover, and then on the inside it has this beautiful page, and then there are a couple like illustrations like they do with their children's books. This is just the first one, and this follows a girl who is taken away from her mother and father after they die and is taken, I believe she lives in Africa at the start or somewhere very exotic, and she is taken and put with her uncle in their estate in, I think, like England, and it's very different from her, somewhere she's never been before, in a type of situation she's never had to experience, and she is a little bit spoiled at the beginning, and so she has to deal with the fact that she is not the center of attention in this new place. And the Secret Garden is somewhere that she discovers with someone else that I will not tell you, just in case you haven't read it and would like to read it. So I am excited to jump into this one because I love it so much and it is part of my childhood. So one of the next books I'm reading is another Tolkien. It is The Hobbit, and I am told you can read these separately, but hopefully I still get The Hobbit first on the bingo pick, but we will see if that works out for me. I know that this is just like the follow-up to Lord of the Rings. I don't really know much about it. I know it's like an uncle to Frodo, but yeah. So hopefully I get this one first. And in the next spot, this is going to be The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I don't know anything about this. I know that there is one man who might be Dr. Jekyll and also Mr. Hyde. I know this is talking about mental health maybe, and good versus evil. The themes I have written down is the duality of human nature. So that sounds like good versus evil. But I don't really know anything else about it other than I'm pretty sure that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is the same person. So there is that one on my bingo list. The next one on my bingo list is Little Women, and this one I don't really know much about. I know it follows four sisters and kind of their growth through the years. I know that there's just was a movie out about this, and I didn't want to see the movie because I hadn't read the book yet, so I will hopefully read the book, and by the time I'm done, the movie will be out, or like out on DVD. I know it follows, I know it's Meg, Joe, but that's all I know. So we will hopefully see. And then I know this is talking about like family and work, morality, independence, and women's rights, self-improvement, and then the duty versus sacrifice, and selfless generosity. So I'm pretty interested. The next one is another Orwell, which is 1984. Again, I read this one in high school. Not a fan. It was just, I had this one high school teacher and all we did was listen to audiobooks. So we went to her class every day. She turned on the audiobook and we just listened to the book, which in theory sounds great, but she wouldn't let you do anything else except for stare at the book. So I don't really remember reading this. I have pushed it out of my mind. So I'm interested to read this one again. And hopefully get more out of it than I did the first time. I know this is Big Brother, and I know it follows this guy and him dealing with the technology and the government having too much power over people. And my themes for it are totalitarianism, propaganda, love and sexuality, independence and identity, music, loyalty, poverty versus wealth, and technology and language, which that is a lot packed into this little tiny book. I don't even think it's, oh, it is, it's 326 pages. So it's a little bit bigger than Animal Farm. So hopefully I just get more out of it than I did in high school, because in high school it was just not my thing. And then we have The Wizard of Oz, and the book I have for it has Dorothy's shoes on it. Isn't that adorable? And then it has this like little silhouette of the four of them together. And we know what this is about. It's about Dorothy, and she goes over the rainbow and she tries to get home. So this is one that I'm excited to be reading. It is a pretty short read. I didn't realize it was this short. I guess the movie isn't really that big, but I don't know. I'm pretty excited to read it. I didn't even know it was a book until I started doing research on classic reads. So I'm pretty excited about it. So hopefully The Wizard of Oz comes up soon. And the next one we have is Frankenstein. And this one is another reread from high school for me. Frankenstein I actually was interested in high school about. I don't really remember much of it at this point, but I know that I did enjoy it in high school, and hopefully I will enjoy it again as a reread. This follows Dr. Frankenstein, and he creates a monster called Frankenstein's monster. And the first half of the book, I believe, is Frankenstein creating the monster and then realizing it was a mistake. And then the second half of the book is the monster trying to get revenge on Frankenstein. The themes are danger of knowledge, sublime nature, monstrosities, society, or secrecy, text, because I believe there's letters, journals, and notes within the story, family, alienation, and ambition. I don't know, I feel like I don't remember much, but I remember like key points. So I'm interested to read it again and see how true my memory is to the actual book. But yeah. Next one is good old Alice in Wonderland, and I have read this one. I've actually read this and Through the Looking Glass. However, it has been a very long time. I read this in like middle school, I think, the last time I read it, and I think this one's so cute. Look at little Alice, and then it's got these cute little mushrooms on the back. Aww. And this one obviously is Alice falls down the rabbit hole and adventures through Wonderland. And yeah, there's not much to talk about on this one. I feel like most of the world knows what Alice in Wonderland is about. And if you don't know, look into it. See a movie maybe. But that is the next book on my classics TBR. So the next one is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. And this one I also don't know much about, like most books in my life. I know that it is a romance, and that is about all I know. So I'm pretty excited to read it. I know I pronounced the name of the book wrong in my haul of this book, and I apologize. It has been brought to my attention. I do know the correct way to say it. I just didn't say it the right way that time. So that one is the next book on my bingo classic. And then this one, I cheated a little bit because it is a picture book, like an actual picture book. It is The Little Prince by, I'm not even going to try pronouncing that name, but we know who it's by. And this one follows this little boy, and he travels through the universe I don't really know much about the book. I haven't read the book, but I have seen that really great animated movie that came out recently about it. So that is my knowledge of The Little Prince. I am excited to read it. It's so adorable. Is he not the cutest little kid you've ever seen? I can't get it to focus. My bad. But that is the next one on the TBR. So this one I threw on because I needed someone to fill a spot, but I like had no idea about this book. I didn't know anything going into it, which is The Picture of Dorian Gray. I think there's like a Warehouse 13 episode, and that is all my knowledge about this. I know there's a guy named Dorian Gray, and he has a painting made, and the painting becomes his real age, and the picture starts to take on all of the things that he does to his body. So it's an awful painting, but Dorian Gray gets to live, and he gets to be beautiful and handsome and young for as long as I don't know what. So this is by Oscar Wilde, and that is the next one on my I'm gonna keep calling it a TBR, but it's the next one on my bingo. And I have themes as art is a mirror, the art of living, vanity as the original sin, the original or the value of beauty and youth, influence of corruption, and homosexuality. That is what I looked up when I found this, or what was shown when I looked it up. So I am completely going into this blind, I feel like, which is not always a bad thing. But that is the next one on the list. The next one is another one that is one of these cute little picture books from Barnes & Noble, and that would be Anne of Green Gables. I don't know, I feel like this has got to be a bind up of more than just the first book, but it doesn't tell me, or maybe I just haven't found it, because it only tells me the list of the pictures, so it doesn't tell me necessarily if it's the books, and I haven't really looked into it enough to know, but it could just be the first book. But I got this beautiful copy of it. And I have seen the TV show, so I do know a little bit about this one. This was one of my mom's favorites growing up, so I'm pretty excited to read it because of that. But this follows Anne, who moves in with two people who were expecting, I think, a boy, and she is adopted by them. And just kind of her experiences living in a world she had never lived in before, and maybe a little bit more of a softer and more wholesome world than she had experienced previously as an orphan. So I'm excited to read it. It's so cute. I love it so much. This is another one that is illustrated, so like that's the first picture in this one. And yeah, so that is the second to last one on my classics bingo. So the last book on my book classic bingo is Treasure Island. And guys, I did not realize how close this was to Treasure Planet. Like, I knew Treasure Planet probably had something to do with Treasure Island, but the characters have the same names. I had no idea. So that's how much I know about this book. And I am pretty excited to read it because now that I know how close it is to Treasure Planet, and Treasure Planet is one of my all-time favorite like cartoons, very underrated. Everyone should go see it. So I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. It's one of my favorites. So I'm pretty excited to read this one and find out how close the actual story is to Treasure Planet. But yeah, I know it follows Jim, and he ends up with a treasure map, and he gets to go on an adventure and maybe find some treasure. So I'm pretty excited to read this one, and that is my last book on the bingo board. In order to like kind of plan out what books I need to read for the month, I'm going to be pulling them out of my bucket of fries in 5 pull increments. So I can plan my months over the next couple of months. So we are going to do our first 5 today so that I know what I'm reading over the next couple of months with my classics. So shake them up, sort them, not sort them, shuffle them maybe. And let's see, I don't want to be able to see through the paper. So my first pick is Frankenstein. So that's pretty exciting. So Frankenstein is my first pick. And then let's see what my second pick is. Out of my bucket of fries. I love this bucket so much. So my next pick is Dorian Gray. So the picture of Dorian Gray. And then my next pick, so that's 2. So this will be the third, is going to be The Hobbit. I'm so glad I got that one first. Here it is. Let's see, we have 2 more. I'm so happy with the first 5 I'm getting, or the first 3 I got so far. Let's see. What is it? Charlotte's Web. Oh, I don't know that one yet. I'll have to get that. And then 1 more. I'm loving this so far. We might read these all in March. Who knows? I want another good one. Let's see. Let's hope for another good one. Dracula. So I have to still get a full copy of this one. My copy that I have, it actually came in broken, so I had to send it back and get a new copy. So Dracula is the last pick for my first 5. That was a pretty good pull, guys. So obviously come back when I finish these 5. I will post a wrap up and then we will draw our next 5, and hopefully it keeps on going this well. But I will see you guys next time, and I hope you have a great time.